Hey crossover riders, if you're trying to decide which Polaris Switchback to buy, it's time for you to take a good long look in the mirror. John Prusak here from Goer magazine looking at some more 2026 snowmobiles. Parked here are two Polaris Switchback Assaults, but for 2026 they're notably different from one another. Let's actually start with some background. For model year 2025, Skidoo, which had traditionally had a 39-inch ski stance on its backcountry crossover machines, decided to offer an XRS version with a 43-inch ski stance. Why? Well, frankly, Polaris was selling a bunch of these wide switchback assaults to people who were mainly riding on trails and forest roads, and Skidoo decided it wanted a bigger piece of that pie. For 2026, Polaris is doing the same, but in the opposite direction. They've traditionally had a wide stance on their switchback assault crossovers, but now they're offering one with a narrow stance. This is the narrow guy here. It's got the Escape package, which includes the wide gripper skis, the RMK spindles, and a 39 to 41 inch stance. It's still got the IGX rear suspension and the 146 inch track, but it's a crossover machine with a mountain front end. And then over here is the traditional Switchback Assault with a front suspension very similar to what you'd find on an Indy model, with a 42.5 inch ski stance, plus the Trail Focus Pro Steer skis. Now it's still got the uncoupled IGX rear suspension that's within a 146 inch long track. So how do these two machines compare? Well, this guy here in our testing was so much fun when we were off trail. When we were on the hill, tipping on edge, doing powder turns, jumping over little things, it was the one to have. But, and it's a big but here, when we had this machine on the trail, it was a lot more work. And that's because it has the RMK-like front suspension. There's more roll to it, and there's just the physics of having the narrower front end. It's just more sketchy when you're really hucking it through turns. So if you're a person who is riding, let's say 80% of your time truly off trail, especially if you're mixing in some slopes and some powder turns and really playing in deep snow, this is the one to have. But you're just going to work harder when you're on the trails. That's just physics. That's just what you're going to end up with a narrow stance. If, however, you're a trail rider who's truly spending most of your time on trails or fire lanes or forest roads in places like Michigan's UP or Maine or Quebec or Ontario or wherever, where you want the longer track for the flotation, but you're really not riding it on edge or doing the big powder turns or stuff, this would be the one to have. It's a much more stable machine on trails. It corners far better. You can still tip it on edge if you want to. It just takes more work to get there and more work to keep there, but the benefit on trail is worth it. So it's time to look in the mirror, crossover riders, and truly analyze which rider you are. If you enjoy your crossover for hucking it down trails and you want good handling, this is the one to have. It's the traditional crossover that Polaris has had, and it's long been a top 10 sled for us at Goer. It's one of our favorites when we're back in the upper Midwest. But if you're a person who trailers out west or lives in the Black Hills or generally rides on slopes, this machine will offer you better off-trail agility, and it's just a little bit more work on the trail. So it's really, the choice is yours. You just got to decide which one of those aspects is more important to you.